Welcome to Reset to Healthier Relationships, Sunday night at 9 with Coach Galinda, your Rise Again woman. And tonight we're holding space for a conversation many people live with quietly. Tonight's topic isn't about blame or decisions, it's about honesty and about noticing when fear, not hope, has been leading our relationships. If you're here, you're not broken. You're brave enough to ask yourself deeper questions. Let's begin. Tonight's topic, everyone, is remaining in relationships because of fear of change rather than the hope for the better. Remaining in relationship because of fear of change rather than the hope for the better. Thank you so much, as always, for you guys joining us. I always like to start off by letting you know how appreciative I am for you guys showing up and being present, especially tonight, which is Super Bowl Sunday. So thank you so much for sacrificing your time. I know some of us have to go to work early in the morning, and 9 o'clock is a huge sacrifice each Sunday night, but I just want to always say thank you because your presence does not go unnoticed. I really appreciate your attendance. So as we dive into tonight's topic, this topic kind of piggybacks on the topic from last week when we talked about staying together for the wrong reasons, habit, children, and the fear of being alone. So I felt as if we needed not so much a part two, but we needed to dive in a little bit deeper and do maybe another part to maybe create a series for tonight's discussion. So last week we had stand together for the wrong reasons, habit, children, and the fear of being alone. And tonight we have remaining in a relationship because of fear of change rather than hope for the better. So they all kind of work together. All both topics work together. And tonight we are going to unpack what happens when a relationship is held together not by growth, love, or shared vision, but by fear. Fear of starting over, fear of being alone, fear of disrupting stability, the children, the finances, or identity. How fear disguises itself as loyalty, patience, and responsibility, the emotional toll of choosing familiarity over fulfillment, the difference between enduring a relationship and choosing one. The hope, I apologize. Hope feels expansive while fear feels restrictive. While acknowledging fear is not the same as immediately leaving. This is not a push towards separation, it's an invitation towards honesty, self-awareness, and emotional courage. Now, I do want to say from last week, we try to customize our content to accommodate not only people that are currently in relationship, but for the singles as well. Whether you're married, single, dating, just starting out, just getting to know someone, this forum is for you. So I do want to make sure I keep that in the forefront because I don't want anyone to feel like, well, I'm not in a relationship. Well, you don't have to be in a relationship to be a part of our Sunday night at night or reset family period, because everybody has a starting point, and everybody that's online, they are not in a relationship, but we take the comments and the feedback from each and every one and apply it to our everyday life. And even if you have no desire to be in a relationship with another person, you can also apply our resources and our tools to relationships with on your job or within your family. So I don't want anyone to ever feel singled out, because reset is not just for couples and people that are booed up. It is for everybody, because we want you to be comfortable within yourself so you can make better decisions moving forward. So we are going to dive into tonight's topic: remaining in relationship because of fear of change rather than hope for the better. Now, has anybody just right out the gate, has anybody been in a relationship and they stayed just because they were afraid to even move to the next level, or to, I really don't want to be alone. I just need to stay here. Maybe it'll get better. Um, you just stayed where you were for whatever reason, even if it isn't fear, but you had another reason why you just stayed and endured the toxic relationship. Has anybody ever stayed in a relationship like that? I know
Can I,
I have.
Glenda, can I widen that definition out first before you can get to my
Absolutely.
answer? Because
Absolutely.
a lot of time when you ask them, have they stayed in a relationship when they should have? A lot of time it's not when they stayed, it's they stayed too long in that relationship. Because a lot of times they didn't pull the trigger when they should have.
Correct.
And fear comes in that to make the decision. You know you're gonna get out, but you just don't know when. And not just not making that decision at the right time. You held on a little longer than you should have. So this should be a two-parter. It should be, did you hold on and not making that decision? Or did you stay in one you shouldn't have stayed in? And the reason why I say that, because of last week, you said this week is an extension from last week, it kind of, which makes it kind of easy because some of us might have been a little confused or not having the clarity we needed from last week, because last week made a lot of us think.
Mm.
And we can think ourselves into something and we can think ourselves out of something. So when we thought about it, we look back over our past relationships. A lot of us wondered, were we clear when why we didn't or why we did stay? So tonight's going to be a good one, another good one, because there's a lot to this that's not surface. So I just wanted to add that in there. Okay.
Okay. So does anybody want to share? Do they recall one of those relationships where they stayed longer than they should, or they just stayed completely just out of fear, or they could be in that relationship right now?
I would say that I stayed out of expectations from other people, or either my, I say, spiritual understanding
Okay.
of leaving the relationship. So I stayed because of spiritual reasons without really fully understanding, because God is a God of love and not of abuse, mistreatment, and everything. So I had to understand that and get through that process before I finally moved.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I understand that. Been there, done that. Anyone else want to share?
Glenda, if all of us on this line was truthful, we all would actually say yes, we have.
That's
Even if
right.
even if you don't, all of us have, because all of us, we didn't come, we're not quick draw. We didn't say, "Oh, I'm out of here." We all think about it first. You got to go through it. Is I shoulda, is it me or is it them? Is it right time, wrong time? So all of us did it. If all of us was honest and truthful, we all say we done it.
True. Yes. I believe that most of us have been through one of the other scenarios that we put out front. So we're going to dive into some of our examples tonight so we can dive a little deeper into this content. So the first example that I have is someone stays because it's not that bad, even though they feel unseen and emotionally lonely. The relationship functions but doesn't nourish. So when you think about that example, um, this individual, they're staying in a relationship, I guess they're talking to, trying to talk their self, do the bad situation, say it's really not that bad. Well, in a sense it is. In a sense it is, because for you to even ask yourself, or for you to tell yourself it isn't that bad, that's an indication that there is some issues. There is a problem. because as you go on to read the example, the person feels unseen and emotionally lonely. So something is lacking in their current relationship. And if it isn't addressed, it's not going to get any better. It's just going to get worse, or it's just going to be stagnated. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get worse. And it's not going to progress where the person is going to be happy or fulfilled the way they really want to be. So for the first example, the person acknowledges, or I guess they're trying to tell themselves it's really not that bad. But in my opinion, it really is, because you're saying this out loud to yourself. So you have identified that there is a problem, and you're trying to justify the problem by saying that it really isn't that bad. And I know some people can say, well, it always can be worse. Absolutely. But when it gets to a point in your relationship where you feel unseen and you're emotionally lonely, I mean, what else is there? It doesn't sound like there's an emotional attachment to me based off of this first example. So this person is staying together trying to justify that, it really isn't that bad. Maybe they're hoping that it will eventually get better, but in reality, it may or may not. Right about now, it's a toss up.
And this is a prime example when I say you stayed too long.
Yeah.
This is a prime example of that.
Mm-hmm.
Because in this when the lady said that part, that the part is not that bad, she's thinking. She's trying to justify. She knows she need to make a decision. She know there's an action she has to take, but she's stalling. She's telling herself.
She's making excuses.
Yep, staying longer than she should have.
Right. So we're going to move on to our next example. A parent remains for the children, telling themselves sacrifice equals love, while quietly modeling emotional suppression and resentment. Now, I have been through that myself. I tried to make excuses. I'm going to stay in this marriage, this relationship for my kids. I want both of my kids to have both of their parents. I'm going to try to make my family work. But I was suffering on the back end. I was unhappy. My husband wasn't present. I always felt like I was, at the bottom of the list of his priorities. Everybody else came before me. I was only there for hot meals and sex. I mean, and to take care of the children. And I kept telling myself, it's all for the kids, all for the kids. But then when we started to argue and he started to get physical in front of the children, I had to start making some, quick decisions, because I didn't want my children to constantly see that and then be tainted for the rest of their life with that, because of that behavior. Even though they were and they are, like Mr. Carpenter said, sometimes you stay in it for too long. Maybe I should have walked out at the first confrontation, physical confrontation we had, versus the 20th confrontation. So that's a good example of staying in the relationship for too long because of the children. And then I know when Dr. Johnson was speaking, she had said, I guess she was referring to church. I know that I was taught by being in the church, you don't divorce, they don't encourage or promote divorce. And there's only certain reasons why you can divorce, but they always feel like there's always room for reconciliation. And, in my opinion, I'm like, well, how long does it take for your husband or your spouse to see you and really want to be a part of the family? You remember once upon a time when if that's the case, he asked you to marry him, and I want to have a family with you. Everything was all, roses and, fine wine and dinners, in the beginning, but all of a sudden there was a shift in the relationship to where, you know, everything starts to downward spiral. And, I really felt like when I turned to the church for help, for guidance, for counseling, to be honest, I felt as if I had to stick it out. I had to stay in there. And then I know my mom, she asked me the $1,000,000 question, I call it. Are you willing to wait 10 years for the Lord to save your husband? And before she could put the question mark at the end of the sentence, I said no, because that meant me putting my life on hold for him to figure it out. And I didn't have 10 years to give him. So that was actually the straw that broke the camel's back for me. So I said, forget about the children, forget about, forgive me if I offend anybody online, but forget about the church. I have to make this decision for Glenda. And that was when my mom asked me that question, that was when I think I started the separation. And because we were already separated in the state of Virginia, you have to be separated for a full year before you can file for a divorce. And we were separated for a full year. And I said, well, Lord, I'm out of here. I can't do it. I can't keep torturing myself or putting myself on the back burner waiting for another human being. I don't think that was the Lord's will for me. It may be for someone else, because once again, we're not encouraging or promoting separation, divorce, or breakup, but that was my come to Jesus moment. That was my aha moment to make a decision for myself. Do I really want something better for myself? Do I want a better life for my children? Do I constantly want to, keep allowing my children for another 10 years to see their mom and dad fuss and fight and cuss each other out? I didn't have it in me. So yet again, that was another example of staying in it too long. But, in my case and in my scenario, I did divorce. I threw in the towel.
And on the flip side of that, sometimes it's not so much like you said, the separation or divorce. Sometimes it's just acknowledging and having confidence in yourself, and have faith in yourself that there has to be something better. And sometimes the realization of you realizing something better, then you talk to your spouse, significant other, or mate, or friend, or whatever it is, and you talk to her. Look, something has to change.
Right.
Yeah, if you value me and value this relationship, let's work it out. Let's work this out, because it can't continue this way.
Right.
And you give them, you bring them in. You first make them aware that you had enough, and make them aware that you're aware, and something's going to change, and they can be a part of the change for better, or they can be a part of the change for worse, which means separation, or divorce, or whatever. But that's the part of, because when you do this, you're talking about three specific things here. You're talking about the action that needs to happen, whether it's an action of separation, divorce, or whether it's an action of getting together, or getting some counsel or outside help, or getting a disinterested party to help bring you guys together. Whatever that action looks like, someone has to take it. And it's good when you can take it as a team versus as an individual. And that's the first thing. Thinking. You have to do a lot of thinking. And sometimes you can't let the other person think for you. You got to think for yourself. Like you said in your scenario, Glenda, you got to think. Now, fear, we all fear the unknown. We all fear what's next. We all fear, fear and resistance. I think fear and resistance are one of the same things, because you resist the change. A lot of us by nature, we don't like change, and we don't want to change. And that resistance and fear and change is some of the things that keep you in the position, in that situation longer than you should have. But once you get to address the action need to be taken, the correct thinking, not stinky thinking, but the correct thinking, and you get that fear resistance in check, you pretty much do pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I know it's a lot there, but that's the situation we're dealing with tonight.
Oh, that's fine. That's well said. It was well said. So I'm gonna ask a question. What are we more afraid of, being alone or being honest? When we decide to either stay in a relationship longer than we should, or just decide to stay in it for whatever reason, whether it's the fear of change, or rather hoping for something better. What are we really afraid of? What, ask yourself the question. If you've been in this scenario, and like we said early on, most of us have. So what was, what were you more afraid of?
This seemed like a good chat time because this is something, because I feel like you're talking directly to me. So let's get the chat going so I don't have to answer everything.
No, that's fine because someone already utilized the chat and they
Okay.
said being honest, and that's actually that's very good. That was a great response right there because
And
being honest, it's huge.
because my thought would be being honest the fear would keep you from being honest. Because I really don't know I don't really want to know what's in store.
Really?
So the fear, sometimes a lot of people say, hey, I can't, because once I confront it and once I let the cat out the bag, then something has to happen.
Of course.
So
That means you're looking for change.
a lot of people are afraid to let the cat out the bag.
Mm.
And you can't put it back once you let it out. Because remember that back in the day, people say, I'm open the can of whip A. And once I let the whip A out, it can't go back.
Yeah, you're right about that. So right now we got one person that put in the chat being honest. So they were more afraid of being honest.
Even when it comes to fear, I think it's the fear of the confrontation.
Mm.
I think that's because how do you go about confronting it with the other person where it could be like, well, it's not going to be no mutual understanding. We know mutual understanding, so understanding how to confront it without being fearful about confronting it.
Dr. Johnson, you know what surprised me about a lot of people? A lot of people that I counsel and talk with and work with, you know what their answers were?
What?
It's not even worth the hassle. It's not even
Right.
worth the headache. Peace out.
Right. And that's the thing. So that's where you're like, I'm not even going through this route like this. I'm just gonna, as you say, process through it peacefully.
So when you do that, are you still staying or are you trying to get out?
Process it now.
Okay.
Not trying to get out, but process it now.
Okay. Processing.
For some reason, this question has Sharon name written all over it. I don't know why.
You just want me to talk to me something. I'm not scared of none of it. When I'm ready to go, I'm going.
That's it. It's a word.
Right.
Okay, someone put in the chat, people sometimes listen to the lies people tell and follow the breadcrumbs.
No.
Good one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, Rufus, you know me. You know I mean what I say.
Yep. That's why I said it had your name written on this one. Yes,
Yes.
indeed.
Yes. But okay, so we're all going in the same direction when it comes to what we're feeling when we're at that point, whether it's the fear of being alone or being honest. Okay, so the next question I want to ask, and as always, you can utilize the chat or you can come off mute and speak your truth. What part of the relationship are you protecting and at what cost? So when you decide to remain in a relationship for whatever reason, whether it's fear or rather than, hope for something better, what are you protecting and at what cost?
I'll open it up.
Go ahead.
A lot of times you're protecting what you think the relationship should be.
Mm.
You're protecting what you wish it could be.
Okay.
You're protecting expectations because you don't have a relationship when you get to this part. It's already eroded enough where it's really nothing.
Right.
And then if you're protecting something, you're protecting what you wish it could be. I think I see in chat group meetings saving face.
Right.
Yes, and that's a lot of times that's what it is. You have expectation, you have all these hopes. You went into this guy or this girl got you where you said, man, if I can just be with this person, man, we'd have a beautiful life. You know, they pictured the house on the hill and the picket fence and all the window dressings. They pictured all that. And then when it don't go that way and it's sour, you know, they still want to hold on to that picket fence and the house on the hill. It takes a lot to take the image out of your mind. Especially especially that's what you brought whole hog and sinker to get there.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I must be mighty different for you or something because I ain't protecting nothing but that finances coming in. That's the only way I'm gonna say. I'm just sorry to say that, but that's how I see it.
Say that one more time, Sharon.
I said I'm not protecting no persona or no image or no none of that. If I stay, I'm staying because I'm protecting their finances coming in.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest.
Hey, if anybody gonna be honest on this line, it's gonna be you.
I guess you used to say it's cheaper to keep her. I guess she's saying it's
No.
it's more profitable to stay with them.
No, I didn't want the finances to stop.
That's what it's more profitable to stay there.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for the individuals that are just showing up, tonight's topic is remaining in a relationship because of fear of change rather than the hope for something better. And the question that we just left off at was, what part of the relationship, if you decide to remain in it, what are you protecting and at what cost? Now, Mr. Carpenter, going back to your comment, I was thinking, and at what cost did you stay? Because I know that you focus a lot on the protecting part, but at what cost? Because it's more so a two-part question.
I guess keeping people whole. I think that'll be the deal, keeping people whole. Because even if the person on the other side is a butthole or really this and that, you know, still you loved them somewhere. You had some feelings somewhere in the equation for them. And sometimes people just don't have the ability to be what you need to be. And sometimes you grow at a different level. Sometimes the vibrations are different in relationship. You growing and this person's stagnant. And you know, when you outgrow them, do you reach back and help them come up, or do you say peace out? So it's a lot of this question is not just a simple yes or no, or I gotta go or stay. This question is a lot of factors.
Okay.
You know, you want to leave people whole. You know, you don't want to destroy a person's world or life when you pull out everything out and they just, they want to jump off the daggone bridge. You know, there's some of this stuff.
Well, what if they're using that to keep you in the relationship?
That's true. That's true. They could use that to keep you in.
Yeah, I've heard that comment before, and I have so many issues with that because how can you leave a person whole if they're not getting what they want? You've already broken their heart. They're already devastated. So I'm still not understanding, how do you keep them whole? How can they still feel whole? Even if you let them down politely, pleasantly, being kind. How are you leaving them whole? Some women and some men have been destroyed. They've been broken, and it takes a while to come back from that. So like I said, I've heard that phrase, that comment several times, and I still have issues with it because it doesn't make sense to me. I don't see how you can break someone's heart or disappoint them or not give somebody what they've been wanting for so long and they still be whole.
You know, go ahead, Sharon. You're going to go first. That's Anna to Sharon. Who's first?
Okay, I was just going to say they're already broken. So how can you break what's already broken?
But he said he was keeping them whole.
But that's what I'm saying. Is you can't keep them whole because they already broken. I mean, things ain't working out.
Like I said, it doesn't. I can't make sense out of it. It's not registering. It's not making sense to me.
I think in a situation like that, you take the blame. You just put all the negative on you. You just you do everything to say it's me, it's not you. It's just this is where I know we need to be because of me. You take the blame of things. That's
And that
what,
makes the other party feel better.
yes, I think it does.
Okay. Mm.
There's a song out James Ingram did years ago, and it's like his thing was no easy way to break a person's heart.
Mm.
You know, there was a song by James Ingram. There's no easy way to break a person's heart, and in that song he talks about he has feelings because he understands there's no easy way to break a person's heart, but he has to tell the lady that we're done, it's no more, we're through. But he know there's no easy way of saying it, so he in that song he takes you around a little bit, and he's trying to figure out how to soften the blow, how to deliver the message, and how to make it where the person's still whole, even though he knows there's no easy way to break a person's heart, even though he knows that they're gonna feel less than, they're gonna feel betrayed, and they're gonna feel like they didn't get, like you say, they didn't get what they wanted. But just because they didn't get what they wanted, you don't have to. I'm gonna say the S word on them.
I look at it like this, Rufus.
Yes.
When they really know, like when you ready to leave, when a person's ready to step because their relationship is not growing or anything like that, the other party already knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Deep down in their heart, they really already know. Why they hanging on, I don't know.
I know a few women that they didn't know. They was shell shocked.
I mean, now that's the part I can't understand. Cause you know when something ain't right. You might not want to accept it, but you really know because the other person cannot be like treating them how they want to be treated or saying things they want to hear. So
Exactly. It baffles me when I'll say in the past year and a half, I've heard so many stories when women have been blown away, but when they tell their stories, I there were so many gaps. I said, but they wasn't emotionally connected. There was no commitment, and you really thought that you had this person? It didn't make sense to me, and it just blew my mind. And I guess everybody's thought processes on relationships are different. You know, when they say it's on many levels, it's on many levels. Because I can't, even for that 15-year relationship that I was in, I knew he loved me, I knew he cared about me, but he was not emotionally there, he wasn't present. So when it was time to call it quits, it was like I didn't care about him being whole. I mean, I didn't cuss him out or nothing. I just said I ain't got another 15 minutes, let alone another 15 years to give you. And I called it quits. I didn't feel nothing. I didn't feel hurt. I didn't do a follow-up. Let the chips fall where they may, because you showed me what you thought of me for the past 15 years. So it wasn't, I mean, I knew for a long time that it wasn't going anywhere, but I was comfortable in staying there. I didn't stay out of fear, and I didn't stay. I will say the reason why I did stay, one of the reasons why I did stay was from my divorce, and every relationship thereafter, it was worse than the one before. So my mindset was, well, if I break up with him today, the next one, and there's usually a next, it's going to be worse than this one. So let me just sit right here, because I stopped doing. And he was content. He was just happy with having me as his girlfriend. He was content. He wasn't getting anything. But when I threw in all the chips, the game is like I started getting phone calls, texts, and I had him on block. But it was too late. It was too late. Whatever I didn't get, I wasn't gonna get, and I didn't even want anymore. But I stayed because I just knew it wasn't fair. Because there's always a next. I've never had a problem with getting a man, but I just knew that the next relationship was going to be worse than the one before. And I just know if I didn't want to go through that again, I might as well just stay right here. Okay, someone says you got to know when to hold. Oh, Sharon, you always know what to say. You got to know when to hold them and fold it. And you're absolutely right. That was a relationship that I stayed in too long.
Here's and this is a different side of the coin, I guess.
Please share.
It's how, if you truly love someone, and I'm not going to say unconditionally love, but I'm in that ballpark, in that realm somewhere. If you ever love someone, you truly love them. How can you really hurt them? How can you? And what I'm saying, if I really love someone, how can I in good conscience block them and or don't want to have anything to do with them anymore? Let me finish now. I just want to get my side out. Let me finish. Because if you truly love someone, not only do they hurt, you hurt too. You both are going through some things because you both lose. One just don't lose more than the other. You both lose. So think about it. You know how people used to say you see a bunch of dead cockroaches behind your cork, whatever that thing is behind on the road. You see all this dead stuff behind you because you can kill everything in front of you. What kind of trail do you be blazing?
I'm gonna have to use a Mr. Kingdom comments. Can you make it make sense?
Well, if you truly love someone in your heart, because we're all taught as young kids, we all taught win and losing in baseball, football, soccer, or whatever sports you play, dominoes or whatever. You learn to lose, you learn to win. No. So when you get these things happening, and it's kind of hard to just love someone else and stop on a dime. If you truly love them, it hurts. It truly hurts. Even if you break up, huh?
Are you going to stop living because of that? Are you going to stop moving on to when you let them go? Are you going to call it quits? You're not going to date anybody else. You're not going to get married. You're not going to settle down. Does your life stop because you're hurting?
No. Now you're right where my point is. Your life goes on. Then you're gonna meet somebody else, and hopefully that work out. If that don't work out, you meet somebody else. If that don't work out, you meet somebody else. There's a statistic that it takes anywhere from 7 to 30 some people to get to before you find the right person.
Well, isn't that a part of life
out there, huh?
Isn't it a part of life though?
That's it, Sharon. You just got it. It's a part of life. It's a part of life. I'm glad. That's it. She made it make sense. She made it make sense.
I'm going to get a t-shirt and I'm just going to wear it just for you, Mr. Carpenter. Make it make sense.
I got Alexa on. Alexa, how many relationships do a person go through before they find someone that they're really compatible with?
I'm not quite sure how to help you.
She's going to help you with that one. Alexa, how many dates do a person have to go on before they find a person suitable?
I'm not quite sure how to help you with
that. She's not into the relationship stuff.
She is. I gotta be able to ask the question right. I'm not asking the question right. I'm not framing it right. Okay. I'll get it right in a minute. But I bet you will. I put myself on mute until I figure it out.
I bet you will. Okay, so I'm gonna ask another question while he's trying to figure out that one. What would hope look like if it led to this decision?
Don't quite understand.
Say that again. It was that Sharon?
Yeah, it was me. Can you rephrase that a little bit?
Yeah, okay. Okay, if hope led to this decision, it would feel expansive, not heavy. It would be rooted in growth, honesty, and possibility, not wanting shrinking or enduring. So what would hope look like if it led to this decision? So I guess when you decide to make the decision to whatever decision that would be favorable to you, what would it look like? And as I was reading, it states that it would be rooted in growth, honesty, and possibility. When you decide to make the decision to whether you want to, in my situation and in my scenario, I'll say break up or call it quits. It looked like I felt like I started to grow. Actually, the windows of heaven started to open up for me. Everything that I felt like I deserved, I started to receive because I that train of bad relationship curse was over. That I no longer had to experience being in a bad relationship anymore. I don't have to deal with the thought of right renewed refreshment in life. You're absolutely right. That's what hope would look like if you made that decision. You're absolutely right. I felt as if when I called it quits with dude, I felt like it was like sunshine shining on me all the time. I never had any rainy days. I never had any storms. It was like a new beginning for me. So far we have someone say growth. You're absolutely right because I guess in my opinion, when you say growth, you said you cut your ties off or you made a decision and you learn from it and now you're moving forward to something bigger and better. And then someone else says renew refreshment in life. You're absolutely right because now something better is going to come along and you don't have to be stressed out or no longer stay in a toxic relationship where it's always something negative being presented to you. So you have some great responses. So as we move along, I see a few people coming in. And tonight's topic again, remaining in a relationship because of fear of change rather than the hope for something better. We are talking about staying together because of fear or for the stand together because of fear when fear of change replaces hope for the better. So we are just moving right along in our contents. I have another example I want to share with you guys. A partner fears the unknown more than the current dissatisfaction, convincing themselves that change is riskier than staying stuck. That's interesting. A partner fears the unknown more than the current dissatisfaction, convincing themselves that change is riskier than staying stuck. Ooh, that person they have a very closed mind. That's that stinking thinking. Change can either go either way. It can be for the better or it can be for the worse. But when you think about change, you think of what you're currently going through right now. Do you want to stay where you're at? Do you want to stay stuck? Because sometimes, like I said, it can go either way. And sometimes change for the better, it does happen. But when you limit your possibilities, that's when you stay stuck. And they say sometimes, and don't take this the wrong way. I heard that when suicides take place, I heard this from a preacher, the person that decides to kill themselves, they not only kill their past, they also kill their future. So when you decide to stay in a relationship for the wrong reason, or you think that it's riskier to make a change versus, just staying right where you're at, you got to think about it. You're putting limits on yourself. You need to, you have to think beyond where you're currently at. And you always, especially in toxic relationships and unhealthy relationships, you need to always think for the better because right now, you're not happy. And when you start to speak out loud and you tell yourself something isn't, something doesn't feel right, I'm not happy, I'm not being seen, he or she isn't present, you already have identified some of the issues and some of the problems. So would it really hurt if you made a change? Because if you stay right there, you already know what you're going to get. It's a strong possibility it's not going to get any better. All right, there's a question in the chat. Rufus asks, it's normal for a person to go through at least 15 or more relationships before meeting the right person. Are you asking that question?
I was telling to ask Alexa or
Oh,
AI.
ask Alexa that. Okay.
Remember he was trying to ask a
Right.
question.
Okay. You was putting in the chat. You was trying to tell him what to ask Alexa to get a
Oh,
appropriate
you
response.
found the right prompt for that, Sharon?
No, I didn't bother to look it up, but I'm sure Alexa or AI, if you ask it that way, will tell you something.
Right.
See what they say.
Give me that again, Sharon, so I can ask the right way.
Glenda, can you read it to him again, please?
He said, she said, ask Alexa, is it normal for a person to go through at least 15 or more relationships before meeting the right person?
Got it. Okay.
All right. And someone else put in the chat, they have learned to adjust to the familiar. You're right. When people stay, yeah, they have, I call that settling. They decided to settle. But you're not only, you're hindering your growth, you're hindering your possibilities. You are, I mean, when you stay, you're not even giving yourself a fighting chance. And like I said, I don't want it to sound as if we're encouraging or promoting anyone to, to divorce or break up. But when you start to speak to your partner, like Mr. Kingdom always says, communication is the key, and you go ignore it for so long. What do? 5 years have passed, 10 years have passed, 15 years of you saying the same thing. I mean, so what do? Do you still stay because it's familiar and you're scared of change? Right? And nothing leaves nothing. You're absolutely right, Gigi. You're absolutely right about that. You are absolutely right. But you have to, you have to be honest with yourself. You have to be honest with yourself in your relationship, especially when you're in a toxic relationship, when you're in a relationship that you consider unhealthy. You have to know, know what you want and know where you want to go, because I don't think anybody in their right mind wants to stay in an unhealthy, toxic relationship indefinitely. Could you imagine what that looks like? To go 20, 30 years of being unseen, unnoticed, your partner not being present. I mean, oh my God, 15 years was a long time for me, but I never stopped living my life. I still traveled. I hung out with my friends. I went to see my family. We did everything separate. We did everything separate, and he would tell me, my friend said, why you don't bring Glenda when you come home? He said, oh, she's always working. She loves staying on the computer. Well, in some cases, I did have to work because at that time I was working every weekend, but at the same time too, you didn't offer. You didn't even give me the opportunity to say yes or no, or not this time, maybe next time. So, I mean, and my family really never asked about him coming in town with me because they knew that he wasn't present in the relationship. So they really wasn't looking forward to seeing him. All right, Mr. Carpenter, have you gotten the answer that you were looking for?
Yes, I asked a question just the way Sharon wrote it, and
Good.
it said yes, it's normal, and it says normal, especially when you're dealing with relationship anxiety.
Oh.
So that says normal.
So it is 15 or more.
Yeah, that says normal.
Mm. All right, now, Sharon, that's 1 point for you.
And when you get home, when after it's over with, yeah, test your Alexa and see does it do the same, say the same thing.
Oh, okay. Now,
I,
sharing your question, they are on the way.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. All right. So are there any questions?
yeah, look, I want to say,
Go
I want
ahead.
to say something.
Go
I
ahead.
know a lot of people say where this is coming from, where you because this is kind of like a spinoff from last week.
Absolutely.
And you got to realize something here. We start the year off saying unstoppable in 2026.
Right.
So first thing before we get unstoppable, we got to get all the roadblocks out of the way. We got to get all the bumps in the road and the barriers out of the way. And if you don't know where you are in your current relationship right now, if you're struggling right now in your current relationship, something has to change.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it has to be some action, had to be some thinking, or something has to change. And this is why this is here now, because fear stops a lot of people. If you ask a person what they want, they always tell you what they don't want first. And this is fear. So that's why we started here with fear. We started with this fear because you need to get that, you need to address that. You need to get clarity. You need to get clarity of your feelings. Because a lot of times when you're in relationships, you kind of lose your feelings about yourself. You lose those inner feelings. You get numb. Relationships can make you very numb. And a lot of times you see the red flags, but you put blinders on. And that's why we're addressing that right out the gate. In the first 90 days, we're talking about that right out the gate. So that way you can start building on what you want versus what you don't want. And that's why the last week and this week topic is so important, because you got to get this stuff handled and addressed. You have to become aware. The first part of this is awareness, not so much making a decision, but the first part is awareness. And like Glenda said, we're not trying to tell you that divorce, separate, or stop seeing a person or ghost a person. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is sometimes you might have to think of yourself, put you first sometimes.
Absolutely.
And that's pretty much where that came from. All right, go ahead, Glenda.
Well, thank you so much for sharing and diving in a little bit deeper, Mr. Carpenter. So, in summary, staying out of fear is still a decision, and it deserves to be examined with compassion, not judgment. Fear doesn't make someone weak, it makes them human. But unexamined fear can quietly cause emotional freedom, self-trust, and reality. Hope as what could grow here, fear as what might I lose. Tonight is about noticing which voice has been leading and whether it's time to listen more closely to yourself. So this week, I want you guys to give yourself tell yourself a few affirmations before you start your day. I am allowed to question what no longer feels aligned. Honestly, honesty with myself is an act of self-respect. I trust myself to face change with courage. Well, let me repeat that one. I trust myself to face change with courage, and I deserve a relationship rooted in hope, not survival. That means even though they're paying the bills, you don't have to stay unhappy.
Can
So,
you
do
go over
we
that
have?
list one more time? Can you go to the list one more time? Because a lot of people are trying to take it in as you went through it, and before they get the first one, then you write on the next one. Can you slow it
Oh,
down a little bit?
okay. So, we're going to go back over our affirmations. I'm allowed to question what no longer feels aligned. Fear does not get the final say in my life. Honesty with myself is an act of self respect. I trust myself to face change with courage. I deserve a relationship rooted in hope, not survival.
Thank you, Glenda. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. So, in our closing tonight, once again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I'm allowed to be, yes, you are allowed to be you, Sharon. And I know that I don't know if the Super Bowl is off, but if y'all watching it, once again, thank you for sacrificing to tune in to Sunday night at 9. And before we leave tonight, I want to remind you of this. Awareness is not action, it's permission. Permission to be honest with yourself without rushing or judging your next steps.
Can I
Whatever
have a
you're
suggestion?
carrying, you don't have to decide everything tonight, but you do deserve to hear yourself clearly. Thank you for your courage, your presence, and your truth. And I'll see you next
Wait,
Sunday.
wait, Glenda, Sharon wants to say something.
Go
Get
ahead. Go
Sharon.
ahead.
Can I make a suggestion on
Absolutely.
on Sunday nights that fall on like special events and stuff like that? It's just a thought. Maybe we shouldn't have Sunday night at 9 because a lot of participants isn't available. It was just a
You know
suggestion.
what? Thank you for that suggestion. Mr. Carpenter, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, Sharon, because that's very important that we get the elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room, when stuff come up, it's easier. It's real easy to say, "Hey, look, the night something come up, so we're not gonna have Sunday night at 9." You know, Glenda came out when Glenda said first we're gonna do Sunday night 9. We're gonna do it free. We're not even gonna charge because this is the kind of stuff people need. And she says nowhere out there are they talking this type of talk. She says when you talk to when you look at other podcasts stuff like that, they're more about entertainment, more about show, more about the person that's talking versus trying to help somebody. She says they don't really address this kind of stuff in church nor in school. And she said sometimes when you get it in your house, you get the wrong message. She said, so there need to be a community forum that you get this from. And then she made me a believer by saying, Rufus, if we only help one person, we just help one person, I am satisfied. So that one night when nobody show up but that one person, because it's a holiday or because something else come on, Glenda's mission is met.
Okay.
I would say Obama dropped the mic, but this ain't that kind of show.
Okay, Sharon, I'll talk to you offline about that. But
Okay.
but thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next Sunday night at 9. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.